Feeling overwhelmed by negative news? 5 Good News Stories is your daily dose of what's going right in the world. Like the 103-year-old granny who got caught speeding in her sports car because she was living life to the fullest, or the family who found their missing cat after 3 years when it showed up at their vacation rental. Remember Flop the penguin's incredible comeback after his injury? And that guy who broke the world record for most high fives in 24 hours while raising money for charity? These are the stories that remind us the world is still full of wonder and joy. 5 Good News Stories. Pure positivity 3 times a week. 5 Good News Stories, available wherever you get your podcasts. 5 Good News Stories.
Calaroga Shark Media.
Hey there, we've got some Netflix synergy going on over there. Hi, I'm Johnny Mac with your daily comedy news. Let's start with WWE Raw. Apparently there was some sort of after show. I've seen the video clips of it, but the announcers weren't sticking around. Bert Kreischer jumped in the ring. There's a fun clip if you want to go search it out. During the main show, Bert was seen in the audience drinking and chugging beer. He did a backstage interview that was interrupted by the faction American Made, which, as you know, are Julius Creed, Brutus Creed, Chad Gable, and Ivy Nile. But then a different faction showed up, the Alpha Academy, who, as you know, are Otis, Maxine Dupree, and Akira Tozawa. They showed up. Luckily, everyone got along. Kreischer and Otis both tore off their shirts. But then, after sign-off, CM Punk was in the ring. As I understand things, Grayson Waller and Austin Theory, you know them as A-Town Down Under, of course, they targeted CM Punk and tried to take him out. Kreischer jumped the ringside barrier to confront Grayson Waller. Luckily, CM Punk recovered. Punk invited Kreischer into the ring. Then, Bert Kreischer executes a chokeslam on Waller. The crowd loved it. Not sure why that didn't make the live show. I don't know how wrestling works, but a lot of fun, and I love the crossover. It's just such an environment to have the comedians on. For example, say you were promoting a fellow show on Netflix, you could have Tony Hinchcliffe on WWE Raw. What would that sound like? Let's wonder.
Tony Hinchcliffe!
I am happy to be here. This is so exciting. I've been watching since the Attitude Era. Michael Cole's been watching since the Jurassic Era.
Nonetheless, congratulations on your show Kill Tony debuting on Netflix today.
Couldn't be happier. Happy to be here on Raw. This is a childhood dream come true. This is absolutely unbelievable. McAfee's the man. Michael Cole, I've been watching you forever. The first match you called was David versus Goliath.
I did watch Kill Tony's Netflix debut, and I think they blew it. There's no way a casual is going to make it through those first 10 minutes. Maybe the Hinchcliffe crew doesn't care, but somebody should have been on scene going, hey, it's episode 1 to a lot of new people. Don't introduce the band. Nobody cares. Get right to it. And the first comedian out of the box was horrific. There's no way a casual watched those first 10 minutes and went, oh, I really like this show. This is good, which sucks. Because if they had made it to minute 11, out comes Shane Gillis as Trump. And I will tell you, as I watched and skimmed the 2 hours, Shane tried really hard to carry the show. Luck of the draw, the names coming out of the hat weren't that good. The set pieces that were planned, Shane, of course, Adam Ray coming out, Ron White as your closer, those were all good as expected. But the civilians, it was a particularly poor group of civilians. AI Johnny Mac here. Human John forgot to record his observation that Joe Rogan is there, and did Joe Rogan speak at all? He was silent. Tom Segura also joined the panel at one point and didn't add all that much except suggesting a landscape or get a website. I'm not sure how much the casuals are going to like episode 1 of Netflix Kill Tony. The show looked good, but I'll tell you, I was trying, and at some point after an hour in, now I did watch the first hour entirely, but then I just started skimming ahead to, is Shane Gillis doing Trump right now or not? I think for me, the show works better as an audio podcast where I can listen at 2x, and if a comedian isn't working for me, I can go skip, which is a little easier to do on a podcast app than my Roku. Anyway, I do like the show a lot. I am a fan. As I just said, I think it works better for me as an audio podcast. And I feel bad here because I think people would like the show if exposed to it, but they're not going to get through that first 10 minutes. Shame. Production, somebody produced it wrong. Sorry, guys. Let's stay down in Austin for now. Podcaster Sam Harris is getting into it with Joe Rogan. On his own podcast, Sam Harris recently discussed Joe and said, Joe is a genuinely good guy who wants good things for people, but he is honestly in over his head on so many topics of great consequence. Harris says society is politically shattered in part because of how Rogan has interacted with information. Quote, a lot of this is inadvertent, but it's also avoidable. Rogan could actually take the responsibility that really is his to take at this point to get his facts straight. He could have two brilliant journalists whose full-time job, he could pay them each $1 million a year to just sit there and make sure he doesn't put his foot in his mouth in a colossally irresponsible way. Harris criticized comedian Dave Smith, who was recently on the show. I have not listened to that episode yet, but I did listen to last night. They had on the guy that is bringing back the dire wolves. That was a really good listen. I do like Rogan's podcast, especially as a late night listen, among other reasons, that the volume doesn't go up and down. So as I drift off to sleep, and this is actually a compliment, not a dig, I find Rogan very calming. Last night I was having a lot of trouble falling asleep, so I enjoyed the company. And did I tell the story of when I was in Antarctica? If not, I'll tell it again really quickly. So we went out camping overnight on the ice in Antarctica. I've never been so cold, and I'm not doing a bit here. I was so cold at one point that I was starting to wink out, and I contemplated, is this what dying feels like? I'm not doing a bit. I'm not being melodramatic. I've never been so cold in my life. Now, I had brought my headphones and my phone, but to operate such a thing was an ordeal because I just wanted to keep, I was wrapped up in the sleeping bag, so cold. So I hit play on a 4-hour Joe Rogan episode because I knew it would get me until 4 a.m. when the boat would come back and get us off this iceberg. Actually, it was an island. It wasn't an iceberg. So I got my hand out of the glove and I hit play on Rogan and Tulsi Gabbard and I listened to the whole thing as I sat there miserable, shivering. But it was 4 hours long. So thank you, Joe Rogan, for that particular night. But back to Sam Harris versus Joe Rogan. Harris criticized Dave Smith, who was recently on the show. Smith wrote back on Twitter, Sam's correct. The only reason that anybody even knows who I am is because of Joe Rogan. I should have earned it the old-fashioned way by having my mother create the Golden Girls. That reference is that Harris's mother is Susan Harris, a TV writer and producer who created the Golden Girls. It is a busy news day. On a lot of other days, this would be the lead. Mike Birbiglia will have another Netflix special. This one is called The Good Life. It'll be out May 26th on Netflix. Interesting to me, May 26th is Memorial Day, a Monday. Normally, Netflix specials come out on Tuesday, but I guess they wanted to pull it into the holiday weekend. In The Good Life, Birbiglia combines jokes and storytelling as Mike talks about his father suffering a stroke and how that led to Mike reevaluating his own ideas about fatherhood. Birbiglia said in a statement, over the years, I've done a lot of personal shows, but somehow this one is the most personal because it's not in my past, it's my life right now. So there's really no filter. At certain points during the hour, I literally thought on stage, whoa, am I really going to tell this story? But that's sort of the idea behind these shows. I try to probe into what's most painful in order to figure out what's most funny. Personally, the Birbiglia storytelling shows don't grab me. I understand I'm in the minority there. I really liked his early stand-up comedy when it was stand-up. But I try and watch these specials and I'm just like, it's just not my thing. It's fine. He's very popular and he'll do fine without me going, hey, I'm excited, but, not my thing. Dave Chappelle did a show Saturday night. On a lot of other days, this would be the lead. Dave and musician Wyclef Jean were celebrating the Haitian community. This happened in Yellow Springs, Ohio. You may recall there were some false rumors about eating cats and dogs, about a year ago. Chappelle said the negativity has been so loud, and this celebration was to amplify positive voices. Dave said, I think they hear so many negative voices that it's good to hear some positive voices. And let's see a hero from Haiti, meaning Wyclef Jean, saying, we love y'all. All these people were brought here legally, all the unrest in Haiti, and they put this extra burden of xenophobia on them. Chappelle said he called Jean as soon as those rumors spread. Jean was on tour at the time, but Dave says he stayed on me, I stayed on him, and finally this thing happened, and I think it needs to happen. I think it's an important lesson, not just for the Haitian community, but for all communities. Like, look, there are people trying to assimilate into America. It's a very difficult thing to do. I think we'd all be better by embracing our new neighbors than marginalizing them, and I think that Wyclef was the perfect ambassador. Amber Ruffin, who was disinvited from the White House Correspondents' Dinner, has a new gig. PEN America announced that Ruffin will host the Free Expression Organization's Gala fundraiser May 15th. Penn's co-interim CEO praised Amber Ruffin for her brilliant social commentary, satire, and exceptional talent. She is truly emblematic of the talented creators who we need on stages and in writers' rooms during a time of unprecedented censorship in this country. We're both delighted and honored to have her here with us. Elie King was on the Dumb Blonde podcast. She talked about her father, Rob Schneider. King said, "I go like 4 or 5 years without talking to my dad. If I would ever spend a summer with my dad growing up, it would be on a movie set. I would just get lost in the shuffle." She described herself as, quote, "a really, really heavy child," and said Rob sent her to a fat camp. She also said her dad forgot about every single birthday, including when she turned 18, and called Rob Schneider very toxic and very silly. Hey man, you ever watch sports and find yourself wishing there was a way to get into the game? Well, let's go! With Underdog, there's finally a way to make picks on sports without leaving the house. The game is in your hands. Underdog is one of the leading sports apps, and you can play now in your state. You've heard me talk about the higher or lower game. You know what I've been doing lately? So I'm a Mets fan, but a couple years ago, Francisco Lindor gave the thumbs down to the Mets fans. I will not forgive him for this. So what I like to do is I like to see what they're doing higher or lower on Francisco Lindor, and I pick the lower. Opening day, 0 for 4. Day 2, 0 for 3. Lower. Lower's the way to go. So how do you play? You choose a player who will go higher or lower on one of their stats, touchdowns, strikeouts, points scored. You can mix and match. You can create entries with baseball picks, basketball still going, soccer, whatever you want. You can play with as little as $1, and if you get everything right, you can win up to 1,000 times your money. So turn $1 into $1,000 just with your sports knowledge. Millions of fans have already won billions making picks on Underdog, and their app has over 100,000 five-star reviews and millions of players. So do what I do. Baseball, higher or lower, and root against Francisco Lindor. He shouldn't have booed the Mets fans. Root for Juan Soto. That's what you should do. So go higher on Soto, lower on Lindor. That's the way to do it. Download the Underdog app and sign up now using the promo code DCN to unlock a special offer of up to $1,000 in bonus cash when you make your first deposit. Join in on the fun when you sign up with promo code DCN. Claim your special offer today and get up to $1,000 in bonus cash instantly upon first deposit. Must be 18 plus, 19 plus in Alabama and Nebraska, 19 plus in Colorado for some games, 21 plus in Massachusetts and Arizona, and present a state where Underdog Fantasy operates. Terms apply. Concerned with your play? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit www.ncpgambling.org. In Arizona, call 1-800-NEXT-STEP or text NEXT STEP to 53342. In New York, call the 24/7 HOPE line at 1-877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY. Underdog, promo code DCN. Do it.
Want this podcast without interruptions? Caliroga Plus delivers this show and over 20 premium shows completely ad-free, right to your favorite podcast player. We've just added exciting new series including Signal Lost. What happens when the most sensitive military intelligence in the world ends up on the wrong phone? White Smoke, taking you behind the scenes of all the interesting things that happen at the Vatican. And Pager Protocol, a thriller about getting exploding pagers into the hands of the bad guys. Plus, receive all your existing favorites like Palace Intrigue about the royal family, daily comedy news, 5 daily trivia questions, and 5 good news stories. Apple Podcast users, simply tap the banner in your Apple Podcasts app that says, Uninterrupted Listening, Spotify and other players. Visit caliroga.com/plus. If you missed all that, check the links in the show notes. It's just $4.99 a month for no ads. Listen on any device, on any player you love, completely hassle-free.
Tonight on the John Mulaney Netflix show, Bill Hader, Chelsea Peretti, Johnny Knoxville, Human Resources Executive and Employee Coach Katie Mallard, and music from Bartees Strange. After I watched Kill Tony the other night, I put Mulaney on to give it another shot, and it's not good. And people on Threads are very upset at me for voicing that opinion. Anyone who's listened to the show for years know I like John Mulaney's comedy, but this show is not good. The Atlantic wrote a fawning article about it, and I'll just push back that, sure, we should all applaud John Mulaney for trying to do something different, but at some point, shouldn't the show actually be funny? Don't we actually need results at some point? Let me give you a straw man argument. What if the show was called Everybody's Live with Spike Feresten? Would people be like, boy, Spike's really trying hard. He's trying to do something different with his late night show on Netflix? No, the show would be panned. Mulaney's coasting on the goodwill. I'm just calling a straight shot here. The show's not good, and I like John Mulaney. Both things can be true. The Moon Tower Comedy Festival kicks off tonight and goes until April 19th. Over 100 comedians spanning stand-up, sketch, and musical comedy will be there. Some of the comedians include Aziz Ansari, Tiffany Haddish, Alex Moffat, and Michael Yo. Tonight, Alex Edelman at 7 o'clock. Aparna and Churla, good to see her back on stage at 7. Aziz Ansari, not so canceled, at 9:30. And K. Trevor Wilson at 9:30. If we were in Austin, I would make you go see Aparna and K. Trevor Wilson, who deserves more fame. Plus, I thought we canceled Aziz. Didn't we cancel Aziz? Aziz is back. Meanwhile, down in Nashville, if you listen to yesterday's podcast, you know that Nikki Glazer's at the Ryman tonight. Yeah, she wasn't there last night. She's there tonight, Wednesday, April 9th at 7 p.m. at the Ryman. Nikki Glazer over at the Lab at Zanies at that same time. Jared Freed also at 7. Robert Kelly is the headliner at Zanies. 9:15 at the Lab. Story Wars with Big J. Okerson and Luis J. Gomez. If we were in Nashville tonight, I would say let's go see Nikki Glazer at 7 and let's skip the late show and go take in some country music and a couple beverages and maybe some hot chicken. Nashville runs all the way through Sunday, which is cool. Plenty to talk about this week. The LGBTLOL Queer Comedy Festival announced their lineup. Co-founder Ryan Rogers said, while extremists try to erase us, we're making it impossible to ignore us. Comedy has always been a form of resistance, and right now, queer joy is revolutionary. This year's festival is more than a celebration. It's a rally cry against censorship, discrimination, and the silencing of LGBTQIA+ stories. This festival runs May 29th through June 1st in New Orleans, kicking off Pride Month. Your headliners, Corey O'Brien, Paris Sachet, and Gabby Watts. More than 100 comedians from across America apply to perform. Let's do a couple reviews of the Melbourne International Comedy Festival. Still haven't heard from Booblet, so I don't know if the Melbourne, Florida National Comedy Festival 2026 is happening or not. Dan's probably one of those guys that catches up and listens to 7 episodes in a row. He's going to all of a sudden hear himself called out every day for a week. Hi, Dan. All right, The Age has been hitting all the shows in Melbourne. I haven't figured out a way to get down there. I could probably go down there and write it off, but I'd have to, work it out with the family here. Hey, I'm going to Melbourne for a comedy festival for a month. See ya. Who's watching the dogs? Exactly. Tom McCusker's show is Be Gay, Do Crime, gay spelled G-A-E. The Age gave it 4.5 stars out of 5. And tell us about Dom. From being born and raised in Hong Kong and living in the UK, her Filipino-Scottish upbringing and unique adoptive family, to coming out as bisexual and even keeping the youth entertained on a tall ship without the internet, Dom McCusker really has lots of tales to tell. Dressed in a pirate-themed outfit, Dom opens the show with a lovely solo shanty to the tune of Last Saskatchewan Pirate. See, this all sounds like a lot of fun. We're told each shanty has 2 sets of lyrics to form the chorus. At the start of each shanty, Dom sings through the first 2 lines with some call and response called Twosies Twosies. How it works is Dom sings the first 2 lines, you and the audience sing back, and then finish the chorus for the last 2 lines. That's fun. Sarah Pesco's show is called I Am a Strange Goot. As for Sarah, she's gotten married and had 2 kids. She's a family woman now, and she wants to talk about it. The Age says, in most cases, yawn. Is that some commentary on what's going on with a lot of American women comics around age 40 right now? I don't know. Ask The Age. In most cases, yawn. The audience really doesn't care about the theme of your domestic life with the nocturnal bubs and a man who feigns ignorance to escape chores. We've heard that one 1,000 times, but not in Pasco's adroit hands. She waves mirth out of monotony, be it the allure of polygamy simply to divide housework, or the juxtaposition of sexual inclinations of both men and women once they hit their 40s. 4 stars they gave that one. And let's do one more. Lil Wanker's show is called Bangtail. Lil Wanker's name is real. Bangtail jumps into character as Alan, a.k.a. the baddest man in Texas, struts on the stage in leather chaps, face adorned with drawn eyebrows and a mustache. This show as well has audience participation. You could find yourself portraying a heifer, a cactus, the saloon doors, or the nemesis. This one-woman clown western blends physical comedy and silliness and a tightly constructive narrative. They gave it 4 stars. That's a lot of fun, too. And that is your comedy news for today. If you like the program without commercials, $5 a month. The commercials go away. Link in the show notes. Or if you're on Apple Podcasts, click that link that says uninterrupted listening, and you and the phone can work all that out. Meet you back here tomorrow.